And here we are. Hi, welcome. I'm Stuart Carden, and you're joining our KCRep's Thursday night mixer. Thanks so much for taking some time and joining us in a little creative conversation and a little cocktail mixing. I hope that some of you out there have gotten your cocktail and are mixing alongside us from Lifted Spirits, or that you're mixing your own libation and having a drink with us. So this week's guests, I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about this group. I've been looking forward to this conversation all week. This week's guests include producing director of the Unicorn Theatre, the famous Unicorn Theatre, Cynthia Levin.
Hi. Glad to be here.
Also, artistic director and founder of Late Night Theater, the one and only Ron Megee.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
And founding owner and curator at the Buffalo, as well as performer, director, and playwright Vi Tran.
Hey, friends.
I'm so thrilled to be in conversation with the three of you, and also get to know you all a little bit more in the process. So those that have joined us before, this is what we're going to do. We're going to first mix a cocktail, chat a little bit while we're making a cocktail from our sponsor, Lifted Spirits. And then after that, we're going to engage in some creative conversation. And then we will open up for questions to answer in the last 20 minutes. So you're joining us hopefully for an hour of conversation and cocktails and hopefully some spirited fun. So I prepped our guests before this. This is the information portion. So I want to highlight that this week's cocktail kit from our official Thursday night's mixer sponsor, Lifted Spirits Distillery. They have just released their, and we have it right here, they've just released their Barrel Reserve #2 gin. And to celebrate this release, they are highlighting folks in the community who are pushing boundaries, taking risks, and redefining labels. So this week's cocktail, this is really cool. I saw this video that they put out about this artist, and it's a really great video. This week's cocktail, the Salty Downward Dog, is in honor of Nicole Heth, who is a yogi, a billboard artist, and artist. And the inspiration of the drink is a combination of her favorite cocktails, her lively personality, and a punny name. So we're gonna have the Salty Downward Dog. We're gonna mix this with Lifted Spirits Barrel Reserve #2, gin finished in oak barrels. Ron, Vi, Cynthia, shall we mix?
Oh,
Yes. Do it.
Yeah.
Shall we mix? I think it's very cool. These batch that they send and also give you the instructions on. So the Salty Downward Dog is 2 ounces of the barrel gin, 2 ounces of this batch, and mine got ripped. Can someone else read the rest of the?
Yeah, well, it doesn't say what's in it. We gotta shake and serve.
Oh no, I've got what's in it. It's grapefruit juice, lime juice, and I don't know how to pronounce this. Demerara sugar, Demerara, Demerara. You ever heard of that?
That's your drag name.
Demerara sugar is fantastic. I'll take it. Speaking of which, has anybody been doing their COVID drag names? Have you seen this out there?
No.
Oh no, it's partly entertaining, partly depressing. So two ounces of the Lifted Spirits Barrel Reserve #2.
Done.
How precise are you all with your pours?
I eyeballed it.
Hey, I went to our bar at the Unicorn Theatre and got this jigger. So I precised it.
It says to salt your ram.
Oh, for God's sake, Ron.
Did you
It
just
did,
have
it
that
took-
in your bar? Did you have
What?
Did you have that in your bar, a salter?
Yes. We're in quarantine. Your bar has to be stocked right now.
Ron,
That's
can you
right.
hand me a lime?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Wouldn't that be funny if we did? We should have.
We should have
Actually,
coordinated
no.
that.
Do that again. Do that again to your left.
To my left would be this way. No, this way. I'll go this way.
No, the other way.
no,
sir.
Go the other way.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Oh,
There you go.
We need
There
a
you go.
director. Gee, it's too bad
I
we
love
don't
it.
have a director among the four of us.
For my salting, I just put some sea salt on a plate. I don't know. I mean, is it a special kind of salt? It's like a flake salt that typically.
yeah, margarita salt. V, you bartended before, so it's special salt, right?
Yeah, it's flakier, like Stuart said. Yeah, and well, it's what exactly you have, Ron. So you're good to go. Yeah, margarita
I think I have
salt.
a
and
little
other-
carry-out packet of salt somewhere. That probably wouldn't work. Never mind, not salting.
This smells amazing.
Does.
Grapefruit juice, lime juice.
I've been pretty dry during quarantine, so I might get a little saucy.
And I don't drink,
Yeah.
Dee, so
Yeah, so
totally.
there you go.
We'll meet up later.
That's right.
When I found out that you can do curbside pickup at different liquor stores and that 7-Eleven delivers liquor and cigarettes, I've been really good. I'll be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had a delivery from 7-Eleven?
Oh yeah, every week now. It's really fun.
That's
you just
great.
wear your mask, they put it on your porch, they walk away.
I did
You
not
could
know these
probably-
things.
Yeah, you could
I
probably
just-
DoorDash pretty much
I can
anywhere.
see the shaking part. I'm shaking. I don't know if other people are stirring.
Shaking, 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 stirring. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but it is in the unicorn mug, so it will be okay.
Hey, I've got a unicorn cocktail glass.
V,
Oh,
Yeah. I stole it from Mackenzie. It was Mackenzie's, but it's a pretty one. With the
that's
gold
a
leaf.
good one.
Mhm.
I just have the leaper here on mine. Are we tasting this, Stuart, or are we
I think we
waiting?
are.
I
I'm
did.
I'm
Yeah,
caught up.
I waited, and then we started chatting, and so I was like, "Oh, we're chatting."
Hey, l'chaim.
You can always
L'chaim.
take a dip. Cheers. Thank you so
Cheers.
much for joining us. Enjoy the cocktail.
Cheers, friends.
Cheers.
oh,
Wow,
It's nice.
Wow.
It's really nice.
that is
really
good.
nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah. Very nice, even without the salt.
Salty downward
Mhm.
dog.
That's
Ooh.
right.
Zia heard that.
I want to meet Nicole Heth even more now. If this is the
Mhm.
drink that she inspired,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Very nice.
So good. And it's like the grapefruit summertime. It's great.
So
Love it.
good.
Yeah, look
checking
at that
the-
lime. I'm jealous of the
checking the-
lime.
I know. I didn't think to pick up limes. I'm checking out the Facebook chat, see what people are saying. Oh, so many friends here.
That's
Well-
cheating. It feels like cheating. Stop it, V.
A little bit.
Cheating? Okay.
I said earlier that I couldn't do both at once, and so the fantastic Jen Spa delivers questions straight to me and thoughts straight to me through the course of this. So I'm really appreciative of you all taking the time to come and join us for this conversation. And you know, this series started in response to all of our theaters shutting down and a real desire to both reflect personally, but also connect with other artists and theater producers in this community to check in about what they're doing with their creativity in this moment and how you're engaging creatively, whether it's in theater or in other ways, and also to find out what you're consuming creatively and like what are the the playlists that are on your list? What are the books that are on your shelf? What are the other ways that you're consuming things right now? And it's also developed a little bit past that. So we'll get to a second question later, but I would love to start with, and I'm particularly interested because this is a group of, in some ways, theater producers, some founders of performance arts venues in theaters, and also an artistic director of a theater. So I'm particularly interested in hearing how each one of you is navigating this moment creatively. So I'm going to open it up that broadly. Does anybody want to jump in?
You know, I would love to jump in because I feel like we're just doing a lot of things. That's all I can think of. It's like I'm used to doing a lot of things and I can't stop thinking about doing a lot of things. And I know we all plan everything every day and it changes the next day. But the one thing that we have going right now are the quarantine confessions, where I have asked local playwrights and actors to just write a 6-7 minute monologue about what it's been like to be quarantined. And we're on our 4th one today that went out that Sean Ruffin is doing. But of course, last Thursday's was Ron's. And it got a lot of hits. I mean, this is like almost more successful than our plays. I don't know. It looks like, you know, a different path for me. But the quarantine confessions, they're on our Facebook page, they're on our website. And they're just really, really cool and fun and funny. And it's a little bit of way to connect with the audience and give a few people a little bit of money. We also are working on our virtual gala that we're doing on August 8th. We're, you know, pulling together people and to do video singing and online auction. So we're working on that. I start rehearsal next week for a new show I'm working on with the Kennedy Center and the National New Play Network. So I'm knee deep in that rehearsal. Lifespan, we are starting Zoom rehearsals mid-August. And at the end of rehearsal, I'm bringing everybody in and we're going to videotape the show live on the set in the theater. And then we're going to stream it. So I'll only need everybody in here, the actors, for like 3 days. And that's everybody's tested, everybody's, you know, wearing a mask until we videotape. So that's really sort of exciting because we're kind of making a film now of this play. Yeah, that's so we got permission from the union to do it this way and following certain procedures. But so it's a crazy summer. And
replan the replan.
We can come back here in a couple weeks. It'll be different. But for now, it just seems really cool.
So what was the pitch like, Ron, to you about the quarantine confessions? Because I watched it. Yours is so amazing. And I honestly was not sure if I don't know, am I going to give anything away? I wasn't sure if there was fact or fiction, what happens during yours. And there's an amazing, you told me that it was actually fact.
It really is fact. And what is funny about it is it had just happened when I got the email from Cynthia and the call. And anytime Cynthia calls me or says, hey, you want to do something, I'll do it. And it was also the first creative thing that I had done during the pandemic. I had decided to shut down. I like Cynthia and Vi and you, I've been working for 40 some years. I mean, I wanted to know what it was like to just shut down. And so it was really fun to do something creative. And the kitten thing had just happened and I didn't post it on Facebook because John and it was just so weird. And there was many other things happening in the world. And so it was really fun to get to tell the story of going through these little kittens. And I'm not a cat person, and neither is John, and we've never had cats. And so it was really bizarre. And so when she said, write a story, I turned to John and I said, I'm going to write about these cats, these little kittens that ended up with names and, oh my God, and feedings every 2.5 hours and 2 hours. And our alarms going off. And one time we overslept one alarm and woke up the next alarm, and then we thought we had killed the kid. I mean, it just kept going. But the kittens are alive. We've got a report. Mandy was the kitten whisperer. She's a actor in town, and she also runs Tree Hugger catering. They do vegetarian food, but she's a kitten whisperer. They raise kittens. I mean, the little stray kittens. So
Right.
she gave me guidance. So that's the story.
Well, it's really fun. I also like how your diary entries begin like day 1, day 3, then it turns into like another quarantine day. It gets vaguer and vaguer as it goes on.
Well, and I give that to Cynthia, because you give them the raw footage and then they crunch it up and put that all together, and it was beautiful. And I was really impressed on the turnaround and everything. I was like, so her staff is doing stuff compared to me. I've been playing in my pool and gardening. That's all I've been doing.
Well, Ron, we're practicing to make a movie. So these monologues have been really good for us.
Well, you talked about how immediately as everything shut down, Ron, you also made that choice as an artist to take a breather and breath.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about that? That choice, or that feeling of need to take a pause?
Well, at first I was panicked. I mean, I'll be honest. I there was a couple days where I wept, like full on weeping, because I was like, what is going to happen? And then when I realized there's nothing I could do right now, John and I could do in the world, and with late night being a bar theater and us not having a venue and everybody in their own homes, I thought, what would happen if we just shut down, John, and tried to enjoy our life for a moment and explore what it's like to just live. And it's really been incredible. I mean, I get up each morning at my 6:37 because I'm an early riser, and I read the New York Times and the Atlantic, and I catch up on things, and then I read my stories, my murder mysteries, and then I play in my pool, my little 10-foot pool, and I cook now. I bake bread. I'm really a little homemaker.
Wow.
And I'm not. And I decided there's the creativity is like Cynthia gave me a moment of creativity, and that got it out of my system for a little bit. And then I did a virtual Zoom bingo night, and that got that out of my system. And I don't know. It's just nice to take a breath once in a while. I mean, we're in a pandemic revolution. I mean, there's a lot in this world right now. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. How about for you, Vi? What in terms of your leadership role, and also you as an artist? How have you been navigating that, both as a producer and also creatively?
Yeah, sure. So 2020 was gearing up to be quite possibly one of the busiest years on all fronts. In March alone at Buffalo Room, I think we had 35 to 40 events booked. So we had more, so we had more events than calendar days. It was going to be our biggest month ever. And it all went away. And I was, the day that the shutdown happened, I was slated the next day to go to Kentucky to start a theater contract. And that went away as well. So everything went away all at once. And at the beginning of the year, I had applied for and received the Charlotte Street Generative Performing Artist Award. And so that was going to be what I was going to do, was leverage that to give myself some time off. And finally get to some of the original works and generative works that I have been sitting on. A last final push for my my autobiographical folk musical memoir, The Butchered Sun. Finally getting a libretto produced for it so that we could send it out. Here it is. You know, so that was a goal. I was sitting on 2 other plays. I've been sitting on a new Americana album with my band as well. So I was like, this is the year. This is the year.
Yeah.
And immediately that turned into survival money, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went into the immediate grief of like, you know, that part of me, you know, that artist side of me being like, but dude, you promised this was going to be the year that you were going to do those things. And I had to sit with him for a second and be like, I know, buddy, I'm so sorry. You know, I'm so sorry that
you call your other self buddy?
No, I call him Jeff Tran.
I was gonna say, what's his name?
His name's Jeff. So all
Jeff
of my
Tran is so great.
Baby refugee V, when all of his fears come out, that's Jeff. I'm like, I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry, buddy. You know, it's okay. And so, but you have to talk to, I mean, it's about wellness, you know, and it's about processing that grief and not repressing it, not shoving it down, but absorbing it and writing all of it. And immediate first steps was how can we help? Jeff, I know we can't do these things, but how can we help our immediate circle? And so, you know, I onboarded myself as a live stream performer in the immediate short term. And I spent that first month checking in on our Buffalo Room staff. Were you able to get another job? Do you need help? You know, we found online help for them. We found, you know, we gave them online hours, just being like, hey, clean up some of our booking proposals. Hey, let's clean up some of our processes.
Yeah.
Just so they could buy some groceries, you know, and live streaming twice a week to collect donations, just to make sure no one was going to get evicted, that no one's bill, you know, utilities were going to get turned off. And it was an amazing process for that core team. We met on Google Hangout, so I called them the Hangout Herd, our Buffalo Room Hangout Herd. And we just got really, really close. And I told them, look, we have to basically create 7 playbooks right now for next steps, depending on how the world shifts, you know? And we're probably gonna have to throw out 6 of those playbooks and rewrite them again and again and again. And what I told them is like, it's okay. If those playbooks get tossed out, it's not wasted time because we're learning, we're growing, we're adapting. And that's the important part, you know?
Yeah, I'm reminded both from this series of conversations and also hearing from each one of you just how extraordinarily individual each one of our paths is through this. And it's asking things of us, and having this conversation gives me perspective on how artists and theater producers have so much in common and yet have an infinite amount of things that are different about the way that their organizations work, about the way that they navigate the world as both producer and artist. And so it's really fascinating to hear each one of these very specific ways you're navigating this. I'm in like very similar mode as UV of iterative, and I new to town and new to this organization, and trying to strike a balance between playing out all the scenarios, but also like trying to begin to give myself the grace to say, one of my mentors that I love, I admire, I quote her all the time, is Anne Bogart of the Saratoga International Theater Institute. And one of the things that she always said in so many different ways about life and about work in the theater is this idea of hold on tightly, let go lightly, of hold on to that idea, that impulse, that hope. And then also, if you reach, there's a point at which you may reach a moment where you need to let it go. And when you do, let it go lightly, and don't hold on to it with too much heaviness or too much mourn if it needs to be mourned, but also be ready to let it go. And I'm thinking about that a lot right now, as there's so many variables that we're all trying to wrap our heads around in terms of choices for us individually personally and in terms of our organizations. So many variables, and giving ourselves the permission to say, okay, I'm going to plan, and then I'm going to respond, and not give into too much fear about the unknown, because right now there's so much that's unknown.
But Stuart, this is exactly what we do
It
in
is.
making theater. I mean, we put everything we have into something, and then the next day it's gone. You know,
Yes.
what we do is inherently, it vanishes at the end of it. So we, to some degree, have learned to let go of certain things, you know, as they come, and just move on. Live theater, it's like, that happened, okay, move on. Pick up the prop that somebody dropped and keep going. So I think we're all pretty agile as theater people to keep going. It can get a little annoying, let's say, after a few months, you know, that it's like, holy, you know, isn't anything consistent. But, you know, I've been in rehearsal or performance every day of my life for 41 years. So this idea of changing my habits, much less my sleeping patterns, was insane to me. I mean, it's like, I just keep working. I came to the theater, you know, during quarantine at home. It's like, well, this is my home, isn't it? This room is my home. You know, it's like, I had to take care of the building. I don't know, you know, just of finding those things. But I think that we're all pretty quick on our feet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, to be able to go,
Yeah.
well, I'm going this way now. But unlike Ron, I don't take a breather. I mean, I take a breather in a different way of breathing
Right.
in a different story. But man, I just have to keep working on something, because also we have a staff, and I've kept my staff on payroll, you know, still and will, hopefully. But, you know, so what do we do?
Yeah.
You know, and find stuff to do to keep people working and having a good time.
Cynthia, what you just said, you know, I really feel that as well. As our lives as theater practitioners, one of the core values that I take away as a theater practitioner, the lessons that it's taught me is everything is a season. You know, this is for now, it's not forever. And it gives you a sense of mindfulness in that, hey, this show that I'm involved in right now is terrible. Well, you know what? It's going to end soon. Do your best. It's going to be awesome. Or this moment is a real triumph. So enjoy it, because it's going to go away. It's ephemeral. This is a season. It's not forever. And that's how I view the pandemic as well. On a long enough timeline throughout the course of human history, we're all going to return to dust. And while we are in these unprecedented times, the things that we are feeling, even if the circumstances are new, they're an amalgam of things that have happened in human history before, and we're resilient. You know.
Right, but they're all just happening at the same
at
time.
once. Yes.
In a small period of time.
Yes, no.
the
Like
entire world.
they've dialed it up to 11. 2020 has dialed it up to 11 for sure.
They really have.
I'm not dismissing that, but just being like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Like what Stuart said about grace and forgiveness, and it's like, for me, I've been kind of in between Ron and Cynthia in that. Part of me wants to overfunction, right? Wants to barrel through the wall. And then part of me is like, dude, let's rest. Let's rest for a second, you know? And so it's trying to hear all those parts of you and not suppressing any of them, just being good to yourself and helping where you can.
And you got to listen to Jeff. You got to listen to Jeff.
You got to listen to Jeff.
Right.
I'm going to start listening to Jeff.
V, that was really beautifully said. It was very beautiful. And you took us to a 40,000 foot view. Do planes go that high? I don't know. However high planes go, you took us to that view.
Yeah, maybe
so
so.
I appreciate that. Are there things outside of theater that you've been engaged in, either creatively or you found a solace, an energy, a fresh connection to in this moment? Are there things that either you're doing creatively that are outside of the theater world, or are there things that you've been consuming? The one that I've been sharing, and during this series, I'm starting to share what albums I'm listening to on my walks, is that like late at night, I'm going for a walk around my neighborhood and listening to an album from beginning to end. And I didn't know I needed it, but it has been so moving, and I look forward to it all day. And I'm thinking about what new album I'm going to listen to. And I walk and listen to an album from beginning to end. And music has always been really important to me, but right now I've needed it so deeply. And so Rufus Wainwright has a new album out that I just listened, it was my listen last night, and it was just like filled me. I love how romantic he is, and I love how like there's a secular spiritualism to his music, and it has vulnerability, and he can get melancholy, but there's always hope in it at the same time. And I just like, I fell in love with Rufus Wainwright all over again last night, listening to that album. So that for me has been something that I've been engaging in, that I typically have I've been in that mode that most of us are lately, which is like song, mix, put Spotify and you're moving through a genre. But to listen to an album beginning to end has been really deeply meaningful for me. So creatively consuming or creatively outside of theater, are there things that you've been leaning into in this moment?
I think creative is a really interesting word of what that actually means to be creative. It's
Sure.
hard to like divorce ourselves of anything that we do. Well, of course it's creative.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think I deal with stressful situations, whether it's a short stretch or a long stretch, is through physical activity. And so, what I do is like I guess it's the opposite, or my own meditation is gardening. I garden every day, even when it's difficult. And so to have actually the time to actually garden, I have a rather large plot of land. And so I garden many different things, but just physically, Zia and I walk 5 miles a day. It's really cool for both of us. I work out a lot, but I just sort of, my need to be physically active.
Yeah.
That's what's like, that's the difficulty for me. So that's my breather, I guess. And reading, because we're used to reading. We read plays. I read plays all of the time. So to be able to at least have maybe a little time to do that, I think is really important. Because we gotta do that, right? Listen to music and read, and especially plays, but and or books. It's just hard when you read like 5 plays a week to have the time then to read the novel. So this is kind of cool to have time to read the novel.
Yeah.
Audio books at 1.5 speed. That's how I've been.
I can't do
Really?
Your ears will tune to it. I didn't believe it at first either, but
no, I can't do it at any speed. I need the book.
Yeah,
I've tried.
I feel that.
I've tried, and it just doesn't. I get distracted. I
have 2 separate lists: a TBR, which is to be read, and then a TBL, to be listened. And so special books I put on the tangible hard copy book that I want to hold in my hand, reading thing. And then the other stuff is like, lots and lots of audio books at 1.5 speed to get through as much content as possible. And that's how I consume a lot of podcasts as well.
Do they adjust the pitch? They don't, right?
Like, a little bit, but your ears will tune to it.
Okay.
And most of the time, I don't listen to anything that is performance related at a higher speed. It's mostly like a news podcast or a cult, pop culture podcast. It's like, oh, I want to stay in the loop of what's going on. Oh, that's funny, but it's okay if I somewhat passively listen, and I'm not losing the performance. But for books that have really great voice acting, I listen to those at regular speed because I want to hear the nuance of the delivery of
Is
those
there
voice
something on your TBR list, to be read list? Is there something on your TBR list that you can share?
Oh my goodness. Just lots and lots of old favorites right now. I think comforts, lots of Brené Brown for vulnerability and leadership.
V, you
Um,
reread? You reread books?
Yeah, I reread. And in this case, re-listen. And that's the great thing about, especially for rereads, is like I can just re-listen because I already know it. I experienced it, tactily the first time. And so getting that reread through audiobooks has been really, really cool. But Brené Brown, a lot of wellness stuff, a lot of wellness podcasts, and thought leaders type stuff and being there for your team and things like that, because we've got our little Buffalo Room family. But
great.
also mostly a lot of instrumental music, a lot of old, a lot of solo piano renditions of old video game soundtracks bring me a lot of comfort. Because I'm going to bring up Jeff again. Jeff played video games when he was young and had no big responsibilities, and so I get that hit of dopamine and nostalgia, and I can have it, as background music while I work, while I do spreadsheets.
How about for you, Ron? Is there something that in this moment that you've been leaning into, either like outside of the performance vein, or that you've been engaging with or consuming?
Well, the reading and gardening and all of that, but the main thing that I've been doing is something that John and I
Planting your victory garden.
Yeah, victory garden. I have so many herbs that's this year I decided to grow an herb garden, which has been really fun. But to make poultices and things, for people who are injured. But the main thing that I've been doing, John and I've not done for really 13 years, is every night I make us sit down and have dinner together. And it's been wild. It has been the most interesting thing to do, is just sit and eat and have both dogs with us and listen to a soundtrack. Stuart, just like you said, an album from cover to cover, or make a really fun playlist. Right now I'm obsessed with covers of songs. And so I've put together all these bizarre covers, like Katie Lang's Hallelujah, which is like, what? Oh my God. So you get to weep while you're eating. And so
you're salting your own food.
Yeah, salting your own food. And I don't know why this eating every day, having dinner has been really big for John and I. It's been really sweet. I know it sounds strange, but it's just something I've never done in my life. Even when we go out, and Cynthia, all three of you will understand this, is if you go to a restaurant, either we have to be on, you're going to meet people, B, you're not alone. You're rarely are just with your significant other, your spouse, whoever you're with at that moment. And it's interesting to have one-on-one with an individual that you kind of thought you knew, and to all of a sudden find out he couldn't wear jeans in high school, and you're like, what? And that's a whole conversation, 2 conversations over dinners. It's like those are, I don't know. I'm loving it. That's what I'm saying.
Are you making complicated meals? Are you making quick meals? What are you doing?
Sometimes I make complicated, and then sometimes quick. And it depends. If we get tired of, after a while, I'll do something different. But I've been really having a great time making different things and exploring. I don't know. It sounds corny kind of now that I say it, but I like it. I do. I like it.
There's part of you, Ron, that is kind of corny and sentimental. So sorry, buddy. That's part of you. I know that.
And you can't get rid of it during a pandemic. No. I found out.
I think it comes out more ferocious.
Yes, it does.
Well, First of all, this has been really delightful. We still have 20 minutes. I'm not wrapping up. We still have 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying this has been really delightful. I look forward to these conversations every week. I'm new to this community, and some folks that come on I know better than others, but it has been an amazing way to get to know who makes theater in this community and who tells stories in this community. And so I just want to say, I appreciate all of you.
Oh, appreciate. I want to say something to you three, which is really interesting. Is you three, what I'm most impressed with you three are that I've always loved, and Stuart, you did it during Christmas Carol, and it was really warming and it was wonderful. Is you three before curtain speeches or after curtain speeches are some of the best in the city. You three have heart, and I've always loved that, and I try to put that in my own theater and life. But it's very interesting. I was thinking what you three together equal to me, and I was thinking the heart you bring to theater is very interesting to me. It's in the long run, it's pure, and I love that. So I just want you three to know that. It could be the liquor now. Woo!
Well, Ron, likewise, brother. I mean, when I came to Kansas City, I mean, Cynthia and you were a couple of the first people that I met, you know, and so I learned it from you. I learned it from you. Hey, and by the way, Ron, part of my backdrop is a nod to you. I don't know if you recognize it, but this globe right here, do you recognize this globe? That's yours. Yeah. That's yours and John's. So when you moved out of your loft,
did Jeff steal it?
No. So this is a wonderful story. Ron and John were living down in the West Bottoms, and they had a moving sale, and so I went there.
Yeah.
And you had a couple of great globes, some books. There was a department store display stand. And I was like, hey, all this stuff. How much do you want for it? Do you want $200? What do you think? And you looked me straight in the face and you said, no, $100. And I thought to myself, either I inherited Mama Tran's Vietnamese bartering skills, or Ron doesn't understand how bartering works, because I offered you 200 and you talked me down to 100. So thank you for the love offering.
I love this so much. I love that you have that globe. I love globes.
They're amazing.
Maps and globes.
Maps and globes.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
I have all of the road maps.
So I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to ask one more question before we get to some really terrific questions that Jen has forwarded to us. But I'm going to ask one more, which is both in terms of the pandemic and also in terms of the protests and the social justice movement that is activating and permeating every part of our society in this moment. I wonder if you all have things that you're going to take from this moment, whether this is about the pandemic or whether this is about the social justice movement, that you're going to take from this moment and incorporate into your new normal beyond this, are the things that you're going to that you're recognizing in the middle of this moment. You know what? I'm going to leave this behind. This thing that I was putting energy towards, I'm going to leave that behind, and that's not going to be a part of my life in the future. Are there things like that this moment writ large have changed for you, and that you'll either incorporate more of post this moment, or incorporate or burn down and let go of from what was?
You know, Stuart, I think we are forever changed. In so many different directions that I don't even think it's possible to let go some of this, although I'd love to let go some of it. But I think about my life up to now is I have thought about and fought for racism and racist acts and anti-Semitism and social justice my whole life. And now I have to rethink the whole thing in a very different context. we have to learn to listen, you know, where we think it's like, oh no, but I've done this, or this is the way. And we don't know anything. Most of us here on this Zoom today. I mean, this is absolutely incredible, which leads me to the book I am reading right now, which is White Fragility. Robin DiAngelo's book, incredible, difficult read. But it's like, wow, you know, just what is in our psyche? What are these? There's just so much to rethink now and recalibrate, and working on anti-racist action statements for our theaters. You know, it's like, we have to make a difference. We have to make a change. What are we going to do about it? Holding ourselves accountable. Wow. It's just, and to have a little bit more of the time right now to recalibrate that. That's incredible. What has been going on in this time, that we've given it the time that we might not have given it. And, oh yeah, that happened, but I'm moving on because this other thing, you know, it's to be able to have that time to just listen to what other people are feeling and thinking. That's
I agree, Cynthia. I realized that, and I back in college was a minor in history, and I didn't know history. Was I this blind to this world? I was blind. I did not realize what has happened in our world. It truly has opened my eyes. And I want to keep my eyes opened, and I want more voices to be heard at our theater. And we're in a revolution, and revolutions mean forward thinking. Either you march with everyone or you get trampled. And I want to be a marcher. I want to grab hands, and I totally agree with you. I want to be enlightened. I'm so happy to learn right now and listen. Listening, you're absolutely right. I just want to listen more.
Absolutely. It's been interesting to rumble with this as an Asian American, and the issues of intersectionality, cross-cultural trauma, and just a little bit of context for those of you who are familiar with my story and my elevator pitch. You know, my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, and I came to America with the clothes on our backs and $20 that a missionary gave to us, you know. But tucked away in that story, and it gets mentioned in The Butcher's Son, but my grandfather, who I take after, my grandfather was murdered in that time. He was a wealthy landowner, successful architect, and just all the stuff that was going down in Southeast Asia in that era. You know, he spoke out. He was very educated and influential. He spoke out, and he wrote protest letters to the press, you know, in Vietnamese and in French. And the corrupt government made him disappear, you know. And so with a lot of the protests that are happening, and the need to be intersectional, and the need to be an ally, and what that means, I also had to unpack a lot of inherited trauma and inherited PTSD with my very particular story with my family. And it's like, so how do you serve, you know, and what privileges do you own? Because I know for a fact, you know, it's very, very, very easy that that those who don't mean ill but should know better, they'll clap me on the back and they'll pat my head and be like, oh my God, V, your story, your family's resilience, your success, if only those people were like you. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because Vietnamese Americans, yeah, we went through some stuff when we first arrived, but we also had the advantage and privilege of American guilt for what went down in Southeast Asia and why we were in the country in the first place. And so that gave us some sympathy from some sectors. And we also had the advantages that were in place by the blood, sweat, and tears of the Black civil rights movement that preceded our arrival. And so don't turn us into a monolithic adversary, you know, in the fight for equal rights and justice. You know, don't do that. Don't do that. You know. So it's been interesting to process, and I'm just trying to be the best ally that I can. So
Right. Right.
That's incredibly powerful. And also, I had heard a little bit about your piece, The Butcher's Son, and it really makes me want to learn more about it. I want to both build on that and also recognize what time it is. And so I want to get to a couple questions that come in. I think there's a couple that are quick, and then there might be a couple deeper ones that we may or may not get to in our 10 minutes left together. But I want to just say thank you for what you just shared, all three of you, and your vulnerability in it, and speaking to this moment in really honest and really powerful ways. So thank you for that. Here's a question. Oh, first of all, Nicole Heth, who we're drinking her drink, the salty downward dog.
Yay! I just made another one, Nicole.
Amazing if she was on this. Who knows if she is? But her billboards are the "You're Doing Great." Have you seen these around the city? The "You're Doing Great" billboards. Yeah,
love it.
They're awesome. In the videos, you should check out the video through Lifted Spirit. Okay. But it's a great video. It's a great message. It's uplifting and public and accessible and like super accessible, positive art in this moment. Okay, questions that have come in. Okay, any new plays you suggest reading while we have this time off? From Anna Sell. Any new plays that you would recommend people read right now?
Cynthia V, Stuart, that's up to you guys. I'm not reading no plays.
You know, there's a new play we're gonna do after we do Lifespan that is incredible. It's called Kill, Move, Paradise by James I. James. Wow. That's an incredible read. I just found it like, I don't know, a month or two ago. Stuart, I know we've been talking for several months about, are things going to have to change? Are plays going to have to change? And yes, they are. This is amazing, and I have to do it. It's a great read. I mean, I would just say pipeline, you know, I mean, now's a chance maybe to reach out and read a few plays that you might not have read, new plays. And some are just really very interesting to read. You know, try to read Dance Nation. If you try to read Dance Nation, you won't be very successful, and you'll totally want to come see it when the Unicorn does it. But boy, about reading plays, some of them you really have to fill in a lot of blanks.
Last night, was it last night? How does time work? Where are we? I think it was last night. There was a Kilroy's celebration.
Yeah.
Kilroy's is this organization that features every year the most recommended plays written by women, non-binary, and trans playwrights. And they have a list every single year. I'm not telling you all anything new on this Zoom, but maybe for other folks. And this year they decided to do a celebration of all the plays that were postponed or canceled that were premiering. And they had the celebration last night, and there was hundreds of people on this Zoom call. And so I would say, if you want to go read some amazing plays, and the Kilroy's website is easy to find, and there's remarkable playwrights of the moment, stories written by women, non-binary and trans artists. And like as a kind of blanket suggestion, check out the Kilroy's list. And there was a Kansas City performer and playwright celebrated, Vanessa Severo, who was going to have her piece Frida
Ah!
at Portland Center Stage that got canceled. She was celebrated last night.
Great.
Stacy Rose, whose play Legacyland, we opened and closed at KCRep on the same night. She was celebrated. Phenomenal resource if you want to read some new plays of the moment. And most of them you can then track down through either, most of them are not published, but a lot of them you can track down from the New Play Exchange. You can also personally reach out and ask with humility and generosity if playwrights will share them with you. There's ways for you to get a hold of them. But I highly recommend the Kilroy's list. It's an amazing resource. Like incredibly of the moment is, and there's a Spike Lee filming of it that Passing Over. If you really want to be of the moment and speaking to the moment, Passing Over is a phenomenal play. It was at Steppenwolf, and then Spike Lee did a film version of it. You can watch it on, I think, Amazon, but it's also an incredible, powerful, indicting read if that's your thing in this moment. Indicting read of powerfully indicting read in reflection of America at this moment and police brutality. It's an adaptation of Waiting for Godot as well, but a contemporary set. It's phenomenal.
And I thought, was that not Passover, the play Passover?
When I say Passing Over, I meant to say Passover. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you.
Right. I only know that because, of course, when I first saw it, I went, Passover, it's about a Seder, you know. So
no, thank you.
it
Yes,
sticks in my head.
Passover. I'm going to, V, I'm sorry, you probably have new plays to suggest. We have 3 minutes left. So
Those were great. No,
we're going to transition to Friends in this hour that went very, very quickly.
It did.
We're going to transition to the kind of wrap up question I had for you, which is, you know, fitfully, some of us have been going back out into the world, but on the other side of this, what are you going to eat, drink, and experience in KC?
I'm going to be adversarial here. You know, I feel like I have done so much drinking and eating the last few months that I don't care about drinking and eating anymore. I want to see people.
Yeah.
I just want to see people. I want to see my friends. I want to see the artists. I want to see our audience. But I got to tell you, the thing that I wake up thinking about every day, I need to get on a plane. I need this to be over. I need to get on a plane. I need to go to DC. I need to see my 97-year-old mother. That is freaking me out that I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, I need the people.
Yeah.
That's screw the food. I don't need the food.
That's powerful and lovely. It's powerful and lovely. V, Ron?
well, dang it, Cynthia. Now I have to lead with hi, Mom. No, but yeah, it would be great to see my mother and my sister and my nieces and my family, or have them come see us. And Mackenzie and I miss traveling a lot. We have in the last, 5+ years spent a lot of time in Chicago, so we miss our Chicago theater family as well. Itching to get back up there. But as far as Kansas City goes, man, yeah, we do miss our favorite restaurants. Westport Cafe, Westside Local, Voltaire, Rieger. Cocktails, I would probably want to hit up underneath the Rieger Manifesto, Swordfish Tom, Chez Charlie, and yeah, I know, right?
I was gonna say that. That's what it said.
Yeah, and then activity. I miss my friends over at Record Bar. Would love to see a show at Record Bar, and would love to see shows with my friends over at Starlight in the Midland as well. So, missing venues, missing good food, and missing good company and good drinks.
Ron, can you bring it home?
Well, The main thing I miss is smoke breaks with my friends. I miss being on small patios or dirty sidewalks or back alleys and getting to just talk and gossip and laugh until I have tears in my eyes. I need that so bad in my life. And of course, food and drink, all of the things they said. And Ragazza, and I love Ragazza. And
Oh yeah, Ragazza too.
And so there, but that's my main thing is I just want to have intimacy with a cigarette and a friend.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I so value this time that we had together to talk, and I forgive us and mainly me for not getting to more of the questions. I was very selfish and kept these three to myself mostly. But I really appreciate each one of you and really have enjoyed having a conversation and getting to know you a little bit more during this time. Can't wait to do it in person, and that's going to happen. We're going to be on the other side of this, and I can't wait to see you at each one of your theaters and venues, and we'll have drinks together, and hopefully those that have joined us will all be together to enjoy that. So stay strong, my friends. Cheers. I got one sip. I've got one sip. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.